and welcome to the Bald Ambition Podcast. I am the bald host, Mookie Spitz, and the one with even more ambition today is Mr. Vince Parry, the founder and president of Parry Rebranding Group. Welcome aboard, Vince.
Hey, glad to be on again.
Yes, and that again is the point. We had a tremendous podcast late February, about 6 weeks ago, where we were talking about personal brand. Take command of your personal brand. And we got into the methodology, the details. You cited amazing case studies and examples of taking one's personal brand to create and sustain and grow attention in this convoluted, crazy media ecosystem. And one of your examples was Mr. Elon Musk. So our conversation veered a little bit into the political sphere. And I thought I'd bring you back to dive in deep in that area because politics has become such a ubiquitous, pervasive presence in our lives, in everyone's lives. And the essence of winning or losing in today's politics revolves around the success at which a politician can create their personal brand, as evinced by love him or hate him, Mr. Donald J. Trump, the 45th and now 47th president of the United States. So let's roll our sleeves up and talk about not him, not the MAGA Republicans, but the losers in the election, the Democratic Party, and look at it through the lens of branding. What the hell is going on, and how can the transformation, how can Democrats take command of their own political brand to turn this situation around for the American left? Welcome, Vince.
Hey, thanks a lot. Wonderful introduction. On the last session that we had together, we did sort of a full disclosure. I don't know if you agree, but I assume you do. Uh, for the record, I am a registered Democrat, and it is. While I'm a registered Democrat, as you put it, I have no idea what they're about anymore, what their brand is. Well, it's not very good, let's say that. But I just wanted everyone to know that that is my political affiliation.
I'll also step up with equal transparency and say that I have oscillated over the years. I voted for George Bush and I voted for Barack Obama for their own reasons. And if I could hang my hat on any party affiliation, I think it's fair to say that I am libertarian, and that could be worthy of its own podcast series. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, for those who don't know that much about the libertarians. I am not actively libertarian, but I take an issue by issue, policy by policy viewpoint that makes me a little bit politically agnostic through the lens of our binary political system. And it also makes me excited to talk to people exactly like you who do have an affiliation, who have a passionate association with a political brand. And being a branding expert, it's perfect to talk about exactly what's wrong right now with the Democratic Party.
Great, great. And you bring up an interesting idea. It isn't just about the Republican brand or the Democratic brand. Uh, it's also about the Libertarian brand. So, not to get off on a tangent there, but we have to be mindful of keeping them in our sights.
Yeah, let's remember our great libertarians. And let's think about all this through the lens of liberty. How's that? So
Wonderful.
to me, a context and perhaps a great starting point is what I call the Trump paradox for the Democrats. And the easiest way to frame this is arguably never in contemporary history has the two sides of the aisle been this polarized, and never in contemporary history has the executive branch exuded this much authority this quickly along ideological and even pragmatic grounds, which we can safely say are about as anti Democrat Party as can be imagined. Trump is actively fighting against the judiciary. He is levying heavy tariffs against other countries in an ad hoc kind of manner. In foreign policy, he is fist pumping with tyrants. And the list goes on and on to the point of just today, Elon Musk essentially buying an election in Wisconsin for that state's judiciary. So, my question to you, as one of the Democrat brethren, from a branding point of view, is shouldn't it be patently obvious what the Democrats could and should be doing? Never has an enemy been more clearly and definitively been defined in our contemporary political history as now, and yet Chuck Schumer is signing into law a spending package which gives Trump even more authority. The Democrats seem more fragmented and splintered than ever before. And from what I can tell, two camps have formed. And this might be a great launch point for you to take a look at this situation. On the one hand, Gavin Newsom, the governor of a state with a GDP larger than 95% of the countries on planet Earth, is sitting down with the likes of Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk to chit chat about politics. You have Gavin Newsom, who seems to be running toward the MAGA middle, if you will, to market condition his 2028 presidential run. And on the diametric opposite end of the Democrat spectrum, you have AOC and Bernie, who are organizing rallies to rouse up the progressive left minions to actively oppose everything that Trump is doing. What the hell is going on?
Well, if I had that answer, I'd be a powerful and wealthy man. But I think, you start off at a really good spot, which is, this unprecedented position, like a marketing position, but a political position, a brand that is chaotic, okay, and unpredictable. And, what do you want to call it? Extreme, as you've articulated. Now, I wanted to think about this, and you bring up Bernie and AOC, and my contention always has been that one of the confounding aspects of the Democratic brand is that it's cobbled together a very large multi constituency voting base. So, and what I mean by that is, their tent is very wide, but not very high. So you've got all sorts of persuasions socially, financially, sexually. They have to make a lot of room for that. And, I look at the Republicans, and, let's take this current snafu with the leaking of, security details on a public forum, by Hegseth and Vance and Rubio and the whole cast of characters that should be in charge of policing our secrets, and they obviously are going out, and as anyone can see, they're in lockstep. Hey, nothing happened. It wasn't war plans. You're the reporter is the one who is to blame for this. You watch any TV show, you watch any or read any source, and their talking points, they have like five or six talking points, and they are in lockstep. Okay, the Democrats don't do that. And I'll get to that probably later in the podcast. There's the vision, the brand, okay, which we're talking about, and then there's the implementation, which has to be loyal, have integrity, as well as, well, integrity by consistency. I mean, deployment. I'll leave that to later, but uh, I look at AOC and Bernie, and then I look at Gavin Newsom, who, we saw on Friday night on Bill Maher, clearly saying that the Democratic brand is toxic, and which I think that's accurate in one way and less so in another. But embracing the likes of Steve Bannon is a way of, as he put it, we can't ignore the voters who represent these individuals. We do that at our peril, and we saw exactly what happened. In the last election, we neglected those people. They felt neglected, and we're elitists. We're coastal, minded, and things like that. We're too liberal, and that's what sort of cost us the election. Um, a long-winded beginning to answer your question. I actually think that not the answer, the concept that the Democrats have to own is neither the AOC Bernie camp nor the Gavin Newsom camp, but perhaps something a bit more radical than that. And again, at the risk of going on and on here and stealing your time, which you're very capable of doing to me, by the way.
Oh yeah, this is not a zero sum game, but but you
uh,
could you this is about you, baby. You
all
are
right.
the branding expert. So keep it coming.
Okay. So let me preface this by giving an example. All right. So everyone knows that Volvo, or should know, that the Volvo brand used to stand for safety, for peace of mind in a driving experience. And they built safe looking cars that were deliberately ugly. They weren't concerned about being flashy or luxurious or anything like that. They were meat and potatoes, a safe brand. You can invest in this and keep your family protected. Um, Suddenly, they abandon their position of being the safest car on the road, and they start to gravitate towards other positions, luxury, refinement, European engineering, and abandoned what was one of the greatest positions, and then made room for brands like Subaru or something like that to step into the void. The what's Subaru's logo? The official car of winter, right? It won't skid. It won't do that. Now, I say
The
all that.
official car of lesbians.
Yes, yes. Who
With
lesbian?
no disrespect to LGBTQ, etc., but that is a known fact, if not a stereotype. But I've always found that very funny, and it's actually added to the allure of the Subaru brand. They had a specific niche target audience that exemplified the brand characteristics: rugged,
Absolutely.
independent, empathetic, right?
No,
But
I know
please carry on. I couldn't help myself.
No, no, no. I think it's actually germane to the point I'm about to make, and hopefully I'll finally make it.
Yeah,
I would say it's the brand for lesbians who live in cold climates.
a hundred
So
percent, 100%.
so anyway, the point I'm making is that the existing brands out there, the moderate Democratic brand, the progressive Democratic brand, and the radical Trump brand are out there already. So, what is the territory? What position can the Democrats take in the market? Okay, that will secure them the admiration and votes that they need to win the next election. Now, branding always starts with your audience, the customers. What are they looking for? Well, they voted for Trump for two reasons. They are looking for, fixing everything that was broken, and the kitchen table issues that they respond to. Well, when you look around, I think people say, well, who is the Republican Party? And there's a whole sort of coterie of individuals who say there is no more Republican Party. Okay, it's the party of Trump. So, my suggestion is that the Democrats rebrand themselves as conservative centrist Republicans. Okay, that is not occupied right now. And what I mean by that is two things. Number one, they should really go out and espouse centrist Republican issues that can win elections, okay? And that means curbing some aspects of their progressive agenda, because that ain't working, uh, as well as the hallmarks of, you mentioned Bush before, the hallmarks of the Bush administration, the Bush brand, specifically Cheney. So I think their brand should stand for conservative Republicans who strike fear into the hearts of voters that things are really, really bad and they can fix it. So basically, I'm thinking, you know, out of the box, become the brand that conservative Republicans used to be, and that will win back the hearts and minds of the Trump voters because they're increasingly becoming dissatisfied with the kitchen table issues, jobs, money, etc.
I love it, but I'll push back in two ways, and let's take them one at a time. The first pushback to this idea of, to summarize your point of view, that the white space in political branding now in 2025 is, ironically enough, the former Republican Party that has been abandoned and transformed into MAGA. Do I read you correctly? So
100%,
the
100%.
the ideology of the fiscally conservative Republican, and perhaps we can give it a glaze of the Schwarzenegger Republican, because that's what it sounds like to me you're getting at, which is the fiscally conservative Republican, the fix it, do it all Republican, the common sense old school Republican, grounded in traditional American ideology, but also perhaps a little socially liberal, let people live, this gay marriage thing, to talk about the Subaru lesbians. That's okay. Abortion, common sense, American kitchen table mores that have been evolving. Let's embrace them. But let's be Schwarzenegger Republicans. Let's fill up that neglected white space that Trump has annihilated on the right, because the Democrat brand has become soiled. Is that essentially where you're coming from?
It is, and I have to applaud. You did it much more succinctly than I was capable of.
All right. Well, I'm here to bring out the best in you, and then summarize it. So here's my pushback, if I got you right. A, isn't Gavin Newsom doing exactly that? By bringing Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon on his podcast, he's starting way left. So if you have the embodiment of the libtard, incompetent governor from a perception point of view, from a right-wing Fox News messaging point of view, that libtard governor would be Mr. Gavin Newsom. So as a counterstroke to that, he is redefining and recreating his personal brand as someone who will chit chat with Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk to move the needle to the right. And his overarching strategy isn't to become MAGA himself, but to do exactly what I think you're getting at, which is this formerly libtard governor is now meeting people in the middle. He's opening up dialogue just like Schwarzenegger tried to. He is becoming more pragmatic and acknowledging California's failings just like Arnold did. He's becoming more personable to a more mainstream American audience, just like Arnold did. And he is market conditioning his inevitable and imminent presidential campaign as that guy in the middle who, it sounds to me like, is pretty Schwarzenegger, is pretty much like that white space that you describe needs to be filled. How is it different?
First of all, I got to stipulate that uh, uh, I agree with you completely about the characterization of Newsom as a Schwarzenegger Democrat, um, and he's rebranding himself, obviously, like you just said. The big difference to me is he's being too nice. Okay. One of the things that I think the Democratic brand suffers from, or when it was a brand, is it's too nice. Let's all play together. The Biden, let's reach across the aisle. Let's change the way Washington works. Excuse me, that ain't selling. So I think that Newsom should do what he's doing, and it does characterize, let's say 80% of what I'm trying to say. I'd like to see about 20% of a Cheney like, okay, projection of fear.
Are you
Okay.
talking? You're talking Liz. You're not talking Liz. You're talking Dick
Dick.
Cheney.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You're right. I should have. This idea. The man who sold America the idea that Iraq was harboring, weapons of mass destruction. Uh, the American people, and mainly, well, let me just stick to the American people. Um, they respond to fear. Okay. I'm afraid of Mexicans replacing me. I'm afraid that, the country is giving money away to, other states and regimes around the world and not focusing on our own backyard. That's fear, in my opinion. Fear is a great motivator. So I would like to see a Gavin Newsom like, appeal to the center, and in my opinion, is more towards the Republican center, but also he's got to get an edge to him. Like things are gonna, be horrible if we don't fix the damage that's being done by Trump, because increasingly they're gonna, the voters are gonna say, "Shit, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that."
No, you could say expletives. This is a
Okay.
podcast. Yeah, yeah.
Um, I voted for this guy, but I lost my job. My Social Security checks are very late or not coming. Uh, my Medicaid and Medicare, I can't pay my medical bills anymore. I think that's fear mongering. When added to Newsom's evolving brand, could be extremely, extremely effective. So that's the difference, in my mind, from where he is right now.
Okay, so to summarize, what Gavin's doing in your eye is strategically expedient and potentially effective because he is filling the white space of the old school Republican Party that has become transformed into Trump MAGA. And that's a space the Democrat brand could fill effectively. But Gavin needs to become more Dick Cheney like in terms of getting his worldview conveyed through a sense of existential threat, urgency, risk, terror, uh, basically make everyone's blood boil to the point of reminding folks that this Trump MAGA thing is as bad as the WMD in Iraq. We got to make a move. This is our chance to save the country from the MAGA with essentially a return to old school GOP. We don't need to make America great again by fucking it up, to use an F bomb, but we need to just keep America what it was, which was we were great then. We could be great again if we get over this Trump stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a great, a great summary of what I'm trying to say. And I think Newsom. I'm not sure he has the personality, and I really mean it. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I question whether he has the personality to, go a little dark on this.
Let's pretend he does, because we're citing a case and we're talking strategy. So we have created the new Democrat of 2026 midterms into the 2028 presidential run. Is basically Gavin shifting gears toward the middle, and then we're putting fire under his ass with good old school Dick Cheney style fire and brimstone, do or die messaging. Okay, now let me get to my second point, my second pushback to you. Now that you've differentiated the Gavin today from the Gavin that fits your model, and that is introducing another Republican. And in this case, it is not a policymaker and vice president, but the key strategist who facilitated the ascendancy of that very administration, Karl Rove. Now, the Karl Rove strategy is don't worry about people outside the party. Energize your own base. It takes a lot of time, money, and effort to expand the ranks of your enthusiastic voters, and it's a much more difficult lift. You've got lowest of low hanging fruit in terms of people who already believe in your ideology, already believe in your recommended way of life, only they're too lazy to get their ass to the voting booth. So, what we need to do is energize the base, stay on message, get to the heart of your political brand and supercharge it so you can get millions of voters who otherwise wouldn't vote to tip the scale. Don't worry about the moderates so much, don't worry about the middle. If you could really just kick the butt of your faithful to get out there and vote, you're going to win. Now, the reason I push back to your super Gavin Newsom model is to your original point. The Democrats are fragmented. Unlike the Republicans, who have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 talking points, the Democrats historically have been all over the place. That not only weakens them from a messaging point of view, but it weakens them from an enthusiasm point of view. So if you got this Gavin embodying old school GOP values, you bottom out tens of millions of voters who are passionately behind AOC and Bernie. And you short circuit a trend and a tendency of at least believing in the Karl Rove strategy for the left, which is the reason I have heard this and I've read about this, and this is intriguing from a branding point of view. One point of view for the loss of Kamala and Waltz this election isn't that they were not moderate enough, but they were too moderate. They embraced an Obama 2.0 strategy, which the left was already bored with. They did a great job at the convention to Obama and Michelle it up. It was masterful, but it failed. And the reason it failed is why are we going back to Obama? You know, we need new leadership to solve all the problems we have. We got Trump in the McDonald's drive-through and with the garbage truck. And I'm going, even if I'm black and male, I'm going to go with this Trump guy instead of African American mixed race female, I'm going to go for the asshole we know and hate. Why? And the reason is because they duly rejected the moderate Democrat position. So that point of view espouses that had Kamala and Waltz gone full Bernie socialist, free Medicare for all, open borders, what have you. That open border might be a stretch given the problems, but you see where I'm going with this, which is this kind of strategic demarcation between, do we energize the young, enthusiastic, super liberal, progressive Democrat who wants to transform this country in a big way? And Kamala and Waltz were milk toast bullshit representations of our Democrat liberal progressive ideals. Why didn't we listen to Bernie? Bernie has been talking about the American worker for decades. And now you listen to any kind of town hall, and the mainstream Democrats are going, well, we really need to pay attention to the working people. Get the fuck out of here. Bernie's been talking about it for decades. Put Bernie in. AOC is young and cute, right? Have an AOC Bernie ticket. So that's my pushback, which is okay, let's go, old school GOP. Wouldn't the core of the Democrat base bottom out?
Yeah, I mean, lots of stuff here to unpack. So you initially mentioned Karl Rove and his policy of forget, let's not worry about the other voters. Let's solidify the base. Uh, one, the base, like you said, and I said, the base is very fractured. So you've got, 25 different agendas, that vote for the Democratic Party, and you've got the Republicans down to 5 talking points. So the base is very fractured. And your point, I think, that you're making is uh, we've got to double down on, uh, the voters who truly embrace more progressive thinking, uh, because maybe we're losing them, or we might lose them. To your point, I think.
No, we did lose them, Vince. We
But
we we we, we did many of them, and again, they're not necessarily news crunching Democrats. But I think many segments who historically were loyal Democrats, namely male African American Democrat voters, voted for Trump. Latinos is a huge segment with earth-shattering seismic migration from the left to the right in this last election.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that, and forgive me if uh, I didn't articulate that well enough. Yeah, we lost that. I guess my point is that when you build a brand, uh, people, and especially in politics, you need to build a brand that people will join. You know, and I'm stating the obvious here, but when you brand a car, or a soft drink or whatever, you're trying to brand it for, not only, like, let's say a car, you want to brand it for plumbers, you want to brand it for people in Alabama, you want to brand it for women with 4 kids. Now, I'm just picking randomly here. My point is that the brand has to get a wide enough constituency to join it, or else, as you're saying, we're gonna lose everybody. So what would be the reason to join or rejoin the Democratic brand? um, you're saying, I think, that we double down on some of the more progressive issues represented by uh, uh, Bernie and AOC. Is Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's the heart of it. Again, I don't personally believe this, but I'm trying to highlight this binary choice that we seem to be getting at, which is, if Gavin goes into the middle and even and especially embodies this old school, ironically enough, GOP kind of sensibility, then the other choice is going full Bernie and full AOC. Just like Trump went balls to the wall with his first incarnation. Every single thing that Trump advocated in 2016 to win the election, and then his subsequent administration, he is going 10x. He is going 100x because the shackles are off. And he won the popular vote and he won the swing state. So now he feels he's legitimized and he has a mandate, and he is steamrolling the judiciary. He has locked down the border. He is fist pumping with Vladimir. He is tariffing Canada and Mexico and everybody else. And he wants to invade Panama Canal and Greenland. And he is throwing the Palestinians under the bus. And he is, kissy kissy with MBS in Saudi Arabia, and the list goes on and on and on for Trump going full Trump. And the argument I'm making is, why not go full AOC Bernie? Because that could maybe work, because from a branding point of view, you want to be crystal clear in terms of your identity and your messaging, and you want your tactics to pull through in a way which gets people excited. And excitement goes in both directions. You get people to hate you like never before, check on Trump, but you also build up a base of loyalists who are going to get their asses off the couch and actually vote for you and get you elected.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess uh, the fundamental difference between what you're saying and what I'm saying, I think, starts with your premise of the binary choice. What I'm thinking of is a trinary choice. Um, if I could, if I could make a labradoodle, I can breed a new, Republican, creature. I would like to breed, Gavin Newsom with the passion and focus of Bernie, not in terms of the worker. Well, let me. That's a separate point. I would like to do a hybrid breed Gavin Newsom with, a Liz Cheney, let's say, with the passion of Bernie, and he's good at talking points. The oligarchs, the oligarchs. He's been saying that for 30 years now. So I would create a trinary choice that doesn't exist right now. And uh, the other point I wanted to make, unless you want to push back or whatever on that.
No,
Um,
I'm all ears, because
okay,
you're steering me in a direction where I think this is going, and I'm getting excited about it. So keep cooking.
okay. So you mentioned about the doubling down on democratic values, on progressive democratic values. Um, we could still do that if Bernie is part of the DNA in this, hybrid creature I'm creating, this hybrid Democrat I'm creating or proposing. Um, the issues that doom us, that doom Democrats, are what Trump and even centrist Republicans, I think, uh, really pick on, cherry pick uh, for attack, and that appeals to not only Trump voters but also probably more mainstream voters on both sides of the aisle, and that is trans people. Okay, that is, uh, well, they're picking it out. Diversity suddenly has become bad. Uh, you know, they need to deal with the flip side, in my opinion, of progressivism as part of this DNA. Meaning, uh, I think they should sort of deprioritize issues that actually they espouse and that the Republicans have painted them with, which is these extreme ideas, not extreme ideas, these ideas that they make a big deal out of, like transsexual athletes. Who the fuck cares about transsexual athletes? They occupy like 0.3% of like the athletes out there. They're elevating this to an epidemic, of trans worship that doesn't exist, and the Trump administration has managed to, brand the Democratic Party as the party of, these liberal, wasteful, beliefs that don't speak to the issues of mainstream America. I think we need to downplay those in the progressive agenda and, play up the idea of, the existing ideas of, workers, uh, the uh, more fiscal economy and things like that. Um, and also maybe, that the government isn't there, the federal government isn't there to solve everybody's problems, which I think you could get, uh, the base, the progressive base, hooked in with. Everyone admits that, the Trump point that, the federal government is bloated. Yeah, sure. The question is how much. Trump is, all the way on the one side of the spectrum saying slash and burn, where more reasonable people, the voters, I think would agree. Yeah, let's do some trimming. Let's let it let's let it get a haircut, okay, rather than lop off a few arms and legs. So I think they should downplay the liberal issues, the progressive issues that uh, are really minor in terms of not incidents, okay? The trans thing, be, selling condoms. Yeah, well, having condoms in women's bathrooms. All right, that's what the Democratic brand is starting to stand for, because of the Republican attacks. Let's stick to kitchen table issues, you know, jobs, unions, things that really, really matter and are prevalent, rather than these liberal issues that, I mean, look at Trump in his inaugural address, able to stand up there, and say the Biden's administration paid whatever it was, $8 million to, make mice trans. You know, that I bet a lot of people believe that, because a lot of Trump voters, they're not college educated, they don't read, and as a result, and they don't get their news from journalists, they get it from the internet. Um, they're able to make, a mountain out of this molehill. And of course, Trump got it wrong. Obviously, it was transgenic mice, not transsexual mice. But again, they're trumpeting this. They're trumpeting this or trumping it, um, and really, really distorting uh, progressive views that should be more prominent, okay, get away from, these extreme sort of, social issues, red meat issues, that Republicans, vote against, and really stick to more relevant, more mainstream ideas about the democratic ideals, like Bernie would say, oligarchs. Everyone could get behind that. That's part of the Republican, the Democrat progressivism. Let's tax the rich. I think that kind of stuff would sell to the base and to a margin of, to bring back the constituency that we lost and pick up some of that. moderate conservative viewpoints. So, it's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, sure. What's wrong with Bernie and AOC? Again, they're going to promote, this sunshine idea of a happy, DEI world, which doesn't work. I'd love to get the passion of Bernie and the oligarch anti-worker, uh, you know, uh, brush that we can paint the Republican Party with, not the uber liberal issues that the prevalence is 0 or 0.3%, uh, and focus on issues that are much much more relevant and prevalent, and still stay within the progressive ideology. Am I making sense here?
Yeah, let me summarize your point of view. I will posit the key problem with it, and then I'll offer a solution.
Hmm.
Okay, so to summarize your characterization of the progressive left and its own issues, we're dealing with a kind of ivory tower San Francisco professor sipping the Chardonnay, out of touch with mainstream America ideologue. The trans issue, certain considerations that the progressive left has, which from a left leaning ideological ivory tower Pollyanna point of view might make sense. Wouldn't it be great if we all had equal rights? Wouldn't it be great if everyone's gender identity and sexuality were respected? Wouldn't it be great if we had this equalization of opportunity, the DEI as a means to an end? Wouldn't it be great if America truly was that city on the shining city on the hill, ironically enough, to quote Reagan, right? Wouldn't it be
Hmm.
great if we actually lived by our ideals going all the way back to the Declaration of Independence, the Emancipation Proclamation, the amendments giving, you know, everyone the right to vote? Wouldn't it be great if we did that? And we're going to initiate all these policies to facilitate that, and in that process, short circuit the hell out of our chances for actually winning elections. So, what you're recommending is that we slice and dice the progressive Democrat agenda to get rid of these fringe, marginally issues, no matter how ideologically sound they might be. We should become more pragmatic about what mainstream Americans are worried about. And we should do a better job once we are in power of passing, let's say, a multi trillion dollar infrastructure deal that the American in Des Moines, Iowa, or Fresno, California can actually recognize as being pragmatically beneficial to their everyday life. Is that a decent summary? Like, let's get real, Democrats, and you've got all this progressive enthusiasm for freedom, equality, justice. Let's build a government that can actually get shit done on the one hand, and then let's demonstrate that we're really eager about satisfying these tabletop issues without short circuiting our own agenda and opportunity to get elected with marginal concerns that freak the hell out of these same voters. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
100%.
all right,
Again.
all right. So I got you. I
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah.
Now here's the problem I'm having, and hopefully it'll point us into a very interesting branding dimension that I'd like to bring up with you. The problem is, what is the heart of a brand? Coca-Cola, it's the real thing, baby. FedEx, when it absolutely positively has to get there overnight. Avis, as the second brand after Hertz, we try harder. It is one, two, three, four words. It's an image that instantly captures the heart of what that brand is. It creates a flattering reflection on the part of the consumer to self identify with that brand with a memorable message and ethos, to the point where they pull the trigger in the supermarket aisle and buy that thing. That is branding, right? At its core, at its essence, own the mind share of the audience, differentiate with simple and actionable messaging, and position yourself to be different, to be better, at least from a perception point of view. That's branding. But how the hell are you going to create a brand for this mishmashed, cobbled together progressive but not progressive? It's not really about the trans people, but it is really about equality, and it is about government helping everybody, but we have a $36 trillion deficit. It is about being kinder to emigres because we're a nation of emigres, but we can't have 10 million people crawling across the border. It's about, not getting involved in foreign wars, but bungling the withdrawal from Afghanistan, etc., etc. How can you possibly integrate this jigsaw puzzle ethos that's taken both of us 20 minutes just to verbalize into an effective brand for the Democrats that could be oppositional to the Trumpster? That's my problem. And I have what I'm feeling is the direction of where we're headed, but I want to give you back the mic to see if that is a problem and what you think might be a solution to that, because that gets to the heart of what we're talking about, which is how do you create a brand that's so fucking complicated?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for quoting me that brands are a flattering reflection of consumers. And did you know that you were quoting that at all? That was in my book.
Just in the sake of transparency, I've been ripping off your messaging in workshops for years. So just want to share that.
um, so back to answering your question. Um, this is where the 20% fear comes into play. Um, the Fed Express FedEx that you brought up. Um, the idea of what was the tagline, when it positively, absolutely has to get there on time, right?
Yeah, when it absolutely positively has to get there overnight.
Have to get there overnight. What is someone buying, okay, when they buy that? What they're buying is reassurance, okay, in my opinion, right? They're buying reassurance. I'm afraid that the package won't get to whomever I'm sending it in time, and it's gonna fuck things up for both of us, okay? That's the fear that goes into that. American Express, don't leave home without it. Okay? The positive side of that is, hey, you've got a financial passport, a financial ally, all right, that you can count on. I think what people are buying is, I'm going to get stuck. Okay, so I have a fear I'm going to be in Spain or France or Japan or wherever, and I'm going to be shit out of luck if someone steals my card or whatever. Um, and I think that's the fear, that part of it is what they're really buying. They're being reassurance from a fear is what they're really buying. So that goes back to my slicing and dicing the DNA, as you put it. I want 80% of what we've been talking about so far. And to hearken back to my original point, I want 20% Dick Cheney. Okay. So unless you elect me and my agenda, which we've just been talking about, or I've been advocating, what does everyone have in common? How are you going to unite the 25 different agendas? Well, a good brand figures out the common denominator. All right? And that common denominator, in my opinion, is fear. Okay? I am going to be unemployed. I am going to not have health care. I am going to lose my freedoms, okay, for, reproductive rights, the invasion of privacy that the Trump administration, is conducting right now. Be afraid of those things, as well as see my agenda, okay, as a way to fix that. Now, first of all, does that answer your question? Second of all, does that make sense?
Yes, and yes, perfectly. And I think it helps segue seamlessly and in an enthusiastic kind of way to where I think we're both headed with this. So, when you loop back to a brand identity being a list of attributes that trigger emotions, so to your example, the FedEx one absolutely positively has to get there overnight. Well, you're addressing the fear and trepidation of the customer who is worried that it won't. And we give you peace of mind and assurance that this very urgent package will get to its destination on time and to satisfaction. So the problem that it's addressing is fear, uncertainty, concern, and the solution is provided through emotional reassurance. Now, if we have a similar kind of arc and apply it to our politics, it could very well be activated, especially in such chaotic times, and especially when the results of the tariffs will inevitably lead to, and probably imminently, inflation and higher consumer prices. When mass deportations result in the same, thanks to a cutting off of key supply chains internally, when the Trump foreign policy backfires like it already is vis-a-vis Ukraine, where the American president is kissing the butt of the Russian tyrant, and the Russian tyrant is like, okay, you throw Ukraine, EU, and NATO under the bus. Why should I make any concessions? I want all of Ukraine, and I'm going to take it. So it becomes self-defeating. And the list goes on in ways that Trump 2.0 could backfire for the American from a kitchen table price of eggs and gallon of gas point of view.
Hmm.
So I'm on board. The missing link here, and I'd be intrigued to hear what you think about it, is the the irrelevance. And I'm going to go to an extreme because as a strategist it's most useful to speak in terms of extremes, because then the variables are delineated and then you have kind of an A-B situation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So let's take policy completely off the table. So you and I have been wrangling about what policies the new Democrat, the rebranded Democrat Party should have. And we've been twisting ourselves into knots here for the last 20 minutes. Like, dial this up, dial this down. Should the new Gavin Newsom do this or that? And it's been difficult and challenging to really identify and articulate exactly what the hell this policy platform will be about, let alone how it can convert into a brand identity and messaging. It's a spaghetti bowl mess. So, my recommendation, and I'm very curious to hear what you think, is to set all that shit on fire and not worry about it. And I cite historical precedent. Back in 2003, I'm from Chicago, and I had moved to California, and there was an African American colleague I had. And I remember we were talking politics, and I said, "Have you heard of Barack Obama?" And he goes, "No." Well, I'm from Chicago, and he's a rising superstar. He's in the Senate right now, but he's black, and his middle name is Hussein. But watch that guy. I said this in like 2003. I think that he could be our first American president. And he goes, why do you think that? And I said, A, George Bush. We need a counter position to that. And B, it's all about the personality. I said, this mofo is smooth. And the reason I bring this up is not to pat myself on the back in terms of my predictive abilities, but it is to vividly illustrate the transcendent power of the person. Look at it conversely vis-a-vis Trump. Trump has managed to single handedly hijack the entire Republican Party and the ideological and foreign policy agenda of post World War II America. He's not even a Republican, to your point. He's Trump. He has reinvented the trajectory of our country back to Teddy Roosevelt. He is a combination of Richard Nixon in terms of his attitude toward the press and judiciary, and FDR in terms of the expansion of executive authority. So he's his own thing. We're not talking policy per se, we're talking personality. So I want to toss this at you and make the suggestion that you and I have been churning through policy related to branding for the last half hour. And we've gotten ourselves into a knot and we really haven't landed anywhere. And my idea here, from a branding point of view, from a personal branding point of view, is to put at the very top of the list for this mythical new Democrat who will save the party and rebrand it, personality. Obama won not because he had progressive or moderate policies. He took America by storm as the first African American president. Unbelievable. Could you have even imagined that this would happen as fast, only a few years before he rose to power? And the answer is a definitive no. But the reason he did was out of sheer charisma and personality. So, if we're talking about rebranding the Democrat Party, the one thing we haven't talked about, and the thing that I think is transcendently important, and the thing that's missing right now in these conversations among the Democrats, is screw policy. We're wasting our time wrestling over policy. We should be actively recruiting and vetting and managing and conditioning and prepping the superstar who will save this disaster. And then once that person can be identified and empowered and Tesla ludicrous mode supercharged, then it almost doesn't fucking matter whether they're more progressive or more moderate. Trump is going to implode along the lines that we described. And it's not being partisan to say that. A lot of his strategies are going to be effective, and there's going to be, I've been an advocate of giving Trump his runway, and that runway is to actually benefit the country as he could benefit it. And I'm speaking like a libertarian now, and at the same time give him enough rope to hang himself. And I think both things are going to happen over the course of the next couple years. And then this superstar, this Democrat superstar, can do what you recommend, which is, on the one hand, ratchet up the fear, like look at the existential mess that we're in right now, and on the other hand, it's, hey everybody, elect me because I'm all that. I'm likable, and you want me as president because I've got great hair and I make you feel good about yourself. So what do you think of what I'm bringing up here, which is the potential mistake that the Democrats are making, obsessing over policy? Who gives a shit? Just for fuck's sakes, can you find someone who's young and people like and that people can rally around?
Yeah, first of all, great. I love what you're saying. And I actually agree with you that we're sort of beginning, or maybe we've been there all along and just haven't said it. We're building a consensus among us too. And I think you've really hit upon the brand promise, if you will, which is what I call what others might call brand essence or whatever. The brand promise to me is what you just said. Love me. I'm lovable. you like listening to me, you like the way I talk, you like the way I move. Like you said, you like my hair.
Yeah, they all have good hair.
They all have
I
good hair. They all
yeah,
have hair. I'm
yeah,
sorry
we,
to
we
say
we
this,
haven't had a
Mookie.
female president. We've had a African American one. We haven't had a female one, but we haven't had a bald one either.
I'm sorry, Mookie. You're never going to be president then.
Yeah, I don't think I'm the guy, but I'm just saying.
Well, let me continue, because you're right. I'm going to build on what you said, but not push back. Actually, pull up. To bring it back to the branding aspect of it, and you said this, I just want to clarify. Um, the policy or brand attributes, right? So FedEx, we have more people focus. We have more employees to be able to get the job done, to take away your fear. But these are attributes, functional qualities about the brand. We have a ton of people focused on this. We have efficiency experts that are constantly thinking and rethinking about how to make us more efficient. These things are attributes of the brand, reasons to believe the promise that we're going to take your worry away. So the personality to me is that brand promise of reassurance, all right, of taking fear and worry away. How you do it matters less. As long as people see a reflection of their own, keeping their own fears at bay, that's a universal, and that trumps, so to speak, pardon the pun, didn't mean that, but that trumps policy. And I agree with you 100%. I think we both agree that, and many other people, I've heard too, Trump is a cult of personality. You know, that's one of the reasons everyone likes him. He's got the hair, even though he's worked a lot to make it look human. He's got the bravado and the confidence, you know, and he's got the hypnotic Svengali like power to have people say about him, hey, he gets us, he's one of us, when he's clearly the opposite of that. It is a cult of personality. And as you put it, there's a slavish loyalty, throughout Congress, that if I don't join the cult and give up all principles that I have, I'm going to get punished. So that brings back the fear thing. Now, I don't want to go there yet, but I think what you're characterizing, like you said, Obama had that, and it wasn't a cult, but it was cultish. It was cult like, in the sense that, wow, this guy really sounds great, sounds smart, is articulate, you know, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody out there, but that's not my intention. He's black in a way that appeals to non-blacks.
Oh,
Okay. And
100%. And if you even feel like you might be racist, then voting for an African American to be president gets you off the hook. So I think you're hinting at that too, which is I feel good about myself for actually voting for this very charismatic black guy, whom if you overlook the melanin content of his skin, this guy is white as hell. He talks
yeah.
white. He does white things. Chris Rock had a hysterical skit at the time, which is, I'm voting for my pick for president of the United States. He is the most white candidate on the ballot, Mr. Barack Hussein Obama. And then he showed all the white things that Barack was doing. He's playing golf. He wears dorky clothes. He drinks Chardonnay. He uses long words, right? So that was part of the Obama appeal. And one point that I think you're making, which I would love to highlight, is the oscillation between parties in a polarizing kind of way and its connection to personality, not policy. Let's, for the sake of strategic exercise, let's take policy completely off the table and let's look at the individual, what they look like, how they talk, their background, their ethnicity. You've got George Herbert Walker Bush, okay, who his resume, look it up, is about 46,000 pages long, including heading up the CIA, right? He is the ultimate institutional old school GOP power broker. Bush's daddy. All right. He was also old and stodgy. Have you seen Dana Carvey's
Yeah,
impression of
yes.
it? Yes, it's awesome, right? So there you had it. He's president, okay? And the first Iraq War, he was, I think to date, had the highest approval rating post first Iraq War of any American president in contemporary history. He had like a 90 plus approval rating after we kicked Saddam's ass, liberated Kuwait for the first time. It was a 2 week war, surgical. We went in, we liberated the country. Obviously, we didn't, liberate Darfur or Somalia or Myanmar. So it was oil, baby, oil. But it was an efficient, effective military operation that made us look great. We had Vietnam to contend with, right? So, booyah, America kicked ass. George Herbert Walker Bush was a hero. And then he fucking tanked. And the reason he tanked was the economy, stupid. And then who comes in? The smoothest candidate ever in human history. Love him or hate him, left or right. Bill Clinton, not William Clinton, but Bill Clinton. He's playing saxophone on Saturday Night Live. He's the everyman. You want to have a beer with this guy, even if he will fuck your wife. You hang out with this guy, right? And then Bill has his own issues. Who follows Bill? But the son of the stodgy institutional Republican. And what does this guy do? Gets us into an even bigger war, messes all that up, tanks the economy, and that's basically the death knell of the old school GOP. And who walks in the door? This super charismatic, super white black guy, right? And
Ab-
then and
yeah,
then who do we have after that? We don't have Hillary. We've got the antithesis of the super smooth, super white black guy. We have the super white, 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 white trash fake billionaire. So it's all about the personality if you look at it this way. You could set policy on fire. What wins American presidential elections and steers the trajectory of the entire United States of America is first and foremost personality, because that gets and sustains and grows attention through emotion. Most voters don't read the Wall Street Journal, they don't track people on X. They impulsively walk into the voting booth like they are making a decision between brands in the supermarket. Well, should I have the branded Wheaties or should I have the granola, right? And depending on what ad they saw and how they like the box art, they're going to make that executive decision. And it's no different in the voting booth.
absolutely. So we are 100% aligned.
I'm
That
shocked. I'm
well,
shocked.
well, I want to add something though. We'll see how much we can sort of pull into a mutually beneficial camp here.
Yeah.
Um, we agree that personality over policy is a winning strategy, right? Um, I love what you brought up. I was going to bring up Clinton too. I'm glad you did, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Um, you mentioned you mentioned George Bush. You also mentioned the idea of Obama, I believe, the guy you can have the beer with. Well, that's what also that was what's said about Bush too. Hey, he's a regular guy. He clears brush on his ranch. He's plain talking. He's not an intellectual, but he's got street smarts. And he's very likable. And like you said, he did disastrous things, but he got elected twice, right? So, what kind of personality should the we agree it's personality. The question is, what kind of personality? And, I look at, um, I look at Gavin Newsom, right? Bring him back for a second. And that sort of was my, what do you want to call it, reservation about him. He's very Clintonian. Okay. Watching his hand gestures, he did the thumb up fist that Clinton did with his hands. Um,
Yeah,
he
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 is. Can I characterize him? He's a likable douchebag.
yes, that's a good. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Um, that personality alone won't win. He's got to be a little.
Exactly.
He's got
Exactly.
to be a little darker, though.
Yeah.
I think Clinton really wasn't dark. I don't think Obama was, but these are different times.
Yeah.
The Republicans or Trump has taken the gloves off and put on brass knuckles.
Then let's
Uh,
let's create them. Let's we put aside policy, and I think wisely. Just as the output of our churning conversation, we're both aligned in that policy is necessary, okay, but it's retroactive. It's got to start with the person. You could write any kind of speech you want and put it on the teleprompter, but it's the personality. We need to create a cult, a Democrat cult, to counteract the MAGA cult. So we're
yes,
on the same page with that. So
yes.
let's get Gavin off the table. Let's pretend we are in Chat GPT. All right, it's now 4.5. We are in Chat GPT 72. All right,
Hmm.
so we're using AI not to cobble together an image based on any kind of mashup we want, real or imaginary. We're not even using Sora, which is another OpenAI product, to dynamically generate a movie clip from a prompt. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
tried that out, but I have done amazing things, with bunny rabbits, and I'd rather not go into further detail. But anyway, you can now dynamically generate even a video. So let's use Chat GPT 72 to literally create the dynamic, animated, engaging avatar, if you will, the virtual essence of our perfect candidate for 2028, embodying the personality and the reasons to believe, as you're saying, to defeat Trump's third term.
Now, just to be clear, are you looking for a person out there, or are you looking to create a hypothetical personal brand that would guide us in finding that person?
Well, to the point of my analogy, we're creating one from scratch because let's quickly go through the list and dismiss them. Pete Buttigieg, he's unbelievably articulate. He's young, but he also has some baggage. A first openly gay president. Why not? Why not? But I think the Democrats, and no offense to Pete, who's brilliant, can air quote do better than that and need to do better than that. You got Josh Shapiro. He's very charismatic. We'll have our first Jewish president. Okay. You've got Paulus up in Maine. Very interesting, more toward a libertarian bent. The list goes on and on for the usual suspects who could be candidates for this ascendancy. But let's dismiss all of them from a strategic point of view because each and every one of them come with baggage. And then rather than debate the minutia of a contender, let's reinforce our proposition here from a hypothetical point of view that personality is king, and let's try to construct in an illustrative kind of way a hypothetical candidate, what they could be like, what they would embody, to help your party, and frankly, my party in this binary system at this point, along for finding, vetting, managing, and energizing this contender for 2028. Let's let's
Okay.
let's play ball for a couple minutes.
Okay.
And
So, I'm sorry. Were
no,
you
no,
finished?
please, it's all you.
Okay. So, uh, this is a very difficult, not question. It's a very difficult concept to build, in my opinion. Uh, just like when I'm working with my clients on branding, a product or a service or a company. If you ask that, if one asks, what do you think we should be? Everyone just stands there and says, I don't know. They get paralyzed. So
But
that's
we're
why
both experts, Vince. We're not people in a workshop. We're the ones giving the workshop. So I have the spark of an idea. Again, I'm happy to defer to you to begin the visualization, but I have a recommended trajectory if you want me to intercede, or again, it's all you.
I want to say one thing,
Yeah, please
because I
say as
wasn't I
much as you
wasn't
want. Yeah,
I
I'm just
wasn't
saying we
suggest
we can do this. We're gonna do it right now. If you've made it this far, folks, an hour 20 into this podcast, your reward will be our visualization of the one to defeat the Republicans in 2028. You are so lucky. Go for it, Vince.
All right, 1 minute, and I'll throw it to you because I wasn't finished with. I was not suggesting, and I could see how I sounded like it, that you and I, are deers in the headlights. When it comes to doing this, that wasn't my suggestion. One of the things the thing I was going to say is, um, there are exercises. Okay, there are behavioral scientific exercises to get you there, one of which is a projection exercise. If the Democratic theoretical idealized personality would be a sport or a style of music or whatever, what would it be? So those are, for those out there, that's one way to think about it, is metaphorically. All right. I don't think we're going to do that right now because I'm eager to hear your suggestion.
All right, and just for the listeners' sake, Vince Parry and his Parry Branding Group, I'm going to do a little plug for you, are experts in applying branding methodology to a company, to a product, to a service, or to your personal brand in ways that these step-by-step proven approaches can get you where you need to go. And Vince was hinting at the beginning of that process where you visualize an analog and construct it from there. So your brand, your service is like a sport. Well, what sport is it? Is it like football? Is it very rough and tumble and kinetic? Or is it like figure skating, which is very delicate and refined and balanced? Is that right, Vince?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
So Vince was talking about the right way to do it, and Mookie Spitz, the bald guy here, will do it ostensibly the wrong and impulsive way. But I think this might be food for thought. And what I'm thinking is along the lines of what I was ranting about only a few minutes ago. Let's look at the trajectory of American presidents over the last 20, 25, 30 years. And what we've seen is a radical oscillation between extremes. We go from George Bush Sr., stodgy GOP, old, kind of awkward, a little bit spectrumy, to the smoothest, likable douchebag on planet Earth, Bill Clinton. The country has enough of the smooth, likable douchebag, right? And then we get the younger Bush, who is likable. You want to have a beer with George Jr., but he's kind of ostensibly conservative. He's Southern too, but in a different kind of way. We've gone from Arkansas to Texas. We've dialed it up a little bit. And by any stretch of the imagination, George Jr. is diametrically opposite Clinton in his own ways, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then George Jr. literally runs the country into the ground. Katrina, the disastrous war, mission accomplished. Another banking implosion, and Clinton, who basically was at the helm of American imperial power at its apex. George was the one who inherited the American dynasty and ran it into the ground. Okay, so who's the diametric opposite of the smooth talking oil magnate son from Houston, Texas? Well, that's Barack Hussein Obama. And then who do we get after that? Donald J. fucking Trump. So let's continue the trajectory. Who do we get after Trump? Of course, the diametric opposite of Trump. We get another old fart, but Trump and Biden couldn't be more opposite in every way, in demeanor, in ideology, in personality, and in energy. You've got Adderall fueled Trump, and then you got zombie Biden, right? So let's take it one step further. Now we're back to Trump 2.0. So if we just look at it from this way, what kind of personality is the exact opposite of Donald J. Trump? So let's assume, just like George Jr., that Trump also runs the country into the ground. And I'll cite a few specifics. I'm not prognosticating, but just for the sake of this strategic exercise, all right?
Right.
So the tariffs are the disaster that 95% of all economists believe they will be. It'll result in inflation, rising consumer prices, and minimal increase in our industrial base. What will our draconian immigration policies do? Well, it's going to actually interfere with the supply chain for farming and manufacturing and even construction. Okay. What about alienating our neighbors? Canada, Mexico, all of a sudden everything gets shittier here in North America. What about fist pumping Vladimir Putin? Well, he reinvades Ukraine, Russia invades Poland. Some calamity happens as a result of this ass kissing of a tyrant. What about the Middle East? Palestinians under the bus. We go to war with Iran. It ignites a bigger conflagration. Oil goes to $300 a barrel. The list goes on and on. China invades Taiwan after seeing what's going on in Ukraine. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but just for the sake of argument, let's create an analog between the disastrous reign of George Jr. and the disastrous reign of Trump 2.0. All right.
Yeah.
So let's say this actually happens. There might be some benefits, like Doge saves, $3 billion in terms of destroying the Veterans Administration and the Department of Health, and then a virus breaks out, right? And our service people aren't getting support. All right. So let's take a worst case scenario, and then we've got our mythical Chat GPT 72 Democrat construct. So given all that, what's the opposite of Trump? Young. Let's start with that. Trump is old. He's cracking 80 years old. At the end of his term, he's going to be in his almost his mid 80s when he's going to try to run third term. He's eating cheeseburgers every day and popping that Adderall. So his health is only going to decline. He's already looking wrinkly, and his orange pancake makeup is getting out of control. Have you seen him lately in more candid videos of him with journalists or with his minions? He's not looking good. So if we're painting this picture of this hypothetical Democrat savior, let's dial it up in terms of diametric opposite physical characteristics. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And I'll throw my own example in. And I love this, what you're doing, which is, positioning a brand
Yes.
depends on the moment in time. All
And
right.
the competition,
And the
right? It's
competition. It
right.
reminds me of, why did Jimmy Carter get elected?
Right.
Because of Nixon. He was the
100,000%. It's the same
yeah,
deal, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but continue.
Okay, so so we're in agreement that Trump is old and wrinkly and Adderall popping and on the brink of a myocardial.
Right.
So this candidate will be young, lithe, healthy, exuding great skin, right? Trump has
And
has
hair. And hair.
yeah, Trump has got hair plugs and he's got peroxide color. He's now peroxiding his big bushy eyebrows. Have you seen that? He's like glowing in peroxide now. So our candidate is going to be young, attractive, with smooth skin, great hair, and they pop on screen, whether you're watching a TikTok video, whether he, she, they, it are sitting opposite Joe Rogan in his Austin little studio. On screen, this candidate looks great and young and effervescing with vim and vigor. Now, you see what I'm doing here? I've already eliminated several Democrat contenders. Gavin is out, right?
Yeah.
And then some of them are cool, but I don't think Paulus gets points for being sexy.
Well, let me eliminate one more. It's not going to be female. Okay? It's got to be a male. This country is not ready to elect a female president, and that's my opinion. Don't know if you agree or not.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree because when I talked to that African American guy who's now a friend of mine after all these years back in 2003, 2004, he looked at me like, "Are you kidding? A black president? We're not ready for that." Remember, we're talking about personality. So if this female is young and beautiful and exudes these characteristics, she's got XX chromosomes, I say so what? I think Kamala lost not because she was female. And I call bullshit on this inherent misogyny. I think that that's part of the story, but I think Kamala tanked because her campaign sucked. And I think Kamala tanked because her personal brand, to the point of this entire dialogue, was not refined. She was Biden 2.0. Not even in policy, but in demeanor. So I think that's why Kamala lost. I agree with you that there is a lot of legacy misogyny, but I'll be so bold as to say the next president and the next Democrat president could very well be female based on the trajectory of this conversation.
Well, we're going to agree to disagree, but I don't want to stop you. You're on a
Okay, all
roll.
right. So check. Young, sexy, attractive, great hair. All right. Now,
Mhm.
what other aspects, let's go into personality a little bit, is Trump not or is anti-Trump?
Um, well, one of the things I was focusing on in my mind is uh, what Trump's brand in reality, his tactical execution, as opposed to what he, what he projected as a candidate. As a candidate, he really looked like the get it done guy. I think what we have, and you articulated it really well, I think I would sum it up and say he's chaotic. Okay. So what's the opposite of chaos? People don't like chaos, you know. What's the opposite of chaotic then? Uh, they a person has to be what's the word? Reasonable, if you will. They have
And
to
and consistent.
and consistent.
And
You
this
know
is
what?
why this is why
Yeah.
Biden won. You're hitting the point. Like, what is the opposite of Trump's chaos and uncertainty? It's Biden's resolute
Mhm.
calmness. I characterized him as Uncle Joe. We're going from the MAGA maniac, front page news every 5 seconds, to boring old Uncle Joe. After 4 years of fucking Trump, bring us boring old Uncle Joe. Yeah, is anyone excited about him? No, but at least it's not that maniac.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we have, I love this. We have this person, this new brand for the Democrat Party is young, attractive, great hair, and calm. Calm and consistent. And here's the thing, assuring.
Yes,
They
yes.
are they're on screen and you either want to be them or fuck them, right? Right?
or be
That's
in a
the bit.
or be in a foxhole with them.
Yes, yes. So they are young, they're attractive. And in terms of the feeling that they exude and make you feel, they make you feel that everything's gonna be all right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. All right, we're constructing this person. Chat GPT 72 is, I see steam coming out of the transformer right now. You know, the matrix math is cranking this person out. So we have young, beautiful, great hair, calming, nurturing, right? But
I
here,
got
here
another one. I got another one. Unless you
okay.
want to
No,
wait
no,
for it.
you.
Okay. The Trump is rambling. Okay, he can talk a mile a minute, but he doesn't make any sense. The weaving, the brand of speech that everyone sees as you know uh, lunatic. Um, he says, "Oh, I'm weaving, I'm weaving." So it's not just the ability to speak, but the ability to make sense. So articulate and cohesive, I would think, is another characterization.
Love it. Love it. So I'm going to use C, the C letter, to make this alliterative. The candidate for 2028 is cute, is consistent, is compassionate. Are these good qualities so
Hey,
far?
you're on a roll. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're cute. You know, you want to hug them or fuck them or be like them. And part of cute is consistent. They're consistently cute and they're compassionate
They're
and
comforting. They're
they're
comforting.
they're comforting. After all this insanity. Tariff
Mhm.
today, no tariff. 25%, not 10%. You know, I'm friends with Vladimir. No, Russia bad. It's going to be assuring, right? So calm,
Mhm.
consist. This cute person with consistent messaging, exuding compassion, right? In a
Yeah.
non-chaotic kind of way,
Yep.
is communicating clearly.
Yes.
Right?
Well done. Well
Yeah. All
done.
right. All right. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Now, there is a key element here which is missing. Do you sense where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I think
Cute,
so.
cute and consistent and compassionate and clear and non-chaotic is what is going to make them as electrifying and as attention getting and memorable and interesting as, love him or hate him, Donald John Trump. That's the tricky part. Here's where Biden dropped the fucking ball to the point where he was zombie president and the Democrats covered it up, and where Fox News was more pinpoint accurate than MSNBC. And you could be the biggest libtard on planet Earth, and you have to admit that that's true.
Well,
Everything's.
let me give you
Go ahead.
let me give you the C word then. And by the way, the C word stands for something else here, but um, I'll give you a quality that begins with C, compelling.
Yes. Very, very good. Now I know why you get the big bucks. Now I know why you live the way you do. Love it. It's compelling. It's attention getting.
Yeah.
Cute, clear, compassionate, consistent, and drum roll, please. Compelling. Now, how do you tie the bow on this in a way that isn't mutually contradictory. How could you be cute and clear and consistent and compassionate, non-chaotic, and compelling? What about them makes this person compelling? And another C word, even though phonetically it's not the same k, but they are charming as hell.
Yeah, I think charming is very very essential. Um, I have one that builds off the fear factor.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. That would be cool to reintroduce it because it seems contradictory. And if you could slip that in, how you can motivate people to get excited about this person within the context of the entire country and world going to hell, then you win.
Are you ready?
I can't wait.
All right. And this word begins with C too.
Holy! I would expect nothing less.
Okay. Here's it comes cautionary.
Ooh,
Not fear
ooh,
mongering,
ooh.
cautionary.
Yes.
Beware. Hazard sign ahead. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I love it. So it's not like pounding his, her, or they chest. It's not about it's not about some of them are good people. It's not about the Chinese. It's not about the usual. It's it's cautionary, which is we need to be careful. Another one, careful. This person
Mhm.
is careful. And here's one more. Here's a bit, you might like this. Conciliatory. About meeting in the middle, about bringing the country together and meaning it.
As well as our allies.
100%.
Yeah.
Sorry, Canada and Mexico, for shitting all over you. We do want you to behave, but we all play nice because we believe in freedom and stuff, unlike some of our other new allies. And Europe, we love your cheese and your wine, and sorry about all that shit too. And we do appreciate you paying more for your own defense. That's nice, but we do want to be friends with you again. And NATO, yeah, you shouldn't go away, NATO, because we don't know what the fuck is going on in Russia, not to mention half the rest of the world. And Israel, yeah, it's nice being allied with you, and it's good that you're forging links with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain. But the Palestinians aren't going anywhere, and you guys really need to figure this out. And the list goes on and on for stop being such a fucking asshole.
Well, I think unless you disagree, I think we landed in a good place. Should we quit while we're ahead?
Yeah. I think we're almost popping 2 hours, and I think just to summarize the trajectory of our whole thing, we started out by setting up the horrible position that the Democrats are in right now, and it's very paradoxical because usually when you have an enemy this clearly defined and this active and this categorically and demonstrably destructive, then it should be easy to rally your people and to build your brand back up and to jump back into the ring, swinging and kicking. But that's not the case. The Democrats are completely sidelined. They're imploding. They have no consistent strategy, and their brand is in shambles. That's how we started this conversation. Then I introduced the dichotomy between making a choice between being super moderate Gavin Newsom or AOC Bernie communist. And then you brought up the great point that it's not binary, that it could be a combination of these things to bring out the best in legacy Democrat ideology and practice and policy. And at the same time, to your great point, we discard the aspects that have shot ourselves in the foot. And then I brought up the point that after you did that exercise of optimizing the new Democrat policy platform, that the policy platform is so fucking complicated and convoluted and in flux that it's nearly impossible to translate that into a cohesive messaging platform, let alone a brand identity. And then after we more or less aligned on that, we both proposed that it's not about policy at all, but it's about personality. And then we constructed a personality based upon the demonstrable oscillation between polarized opposites. We reviewed the presidency going back decades and found that the personality, the person of the president, literally embodied diametrically opposite characteristics from term to term. And then we got really creative and we thought, well, if that's the case, let's use that as a starting point to create our idealized candidate for the presidency for the Democrats for 2028. And we landed on the C words, which were essentially this person has to be cute, they need to be physically alluring and attractive. This person needs consistent and clear messaging in opposition to Trump as well. You know, he's old, this person's young, cute. So they're cute, they're clear, they're consistent in their messaging, and also, contrary to Trump, they're compassionate. And this person is not boring, they are compelling. And the essence of their own platform is cautionary.
Brilliant. Brilliantly done.
So I think the Democrat strategists would be behooved to listen to these two guys yelling into a speakerphone and take it on, which is stop worrying about policy and arguing about policy and start recruiting. And guess what? Based on this high level, really inchoate analysis, get rid of the usual suspects. Go into Congress. Go into the grassroots Democrat establishment. And your selection criteria should be check, 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 check. Are they cute? Are they compelling? Are they clear? Are they able to deliver a cautionary tale that basically cuts through the chaos and relies solely on their charisma to win the fucking election in the wake of the imminent and inevitable disaster that Trump's hedonistic and egocentric policies are going to engender for America and the world?
That's marvelous. And you know where you should send the link to this? You should send it to a name that begins with C, Carville.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, James Carville has been advocating that we, the Democrats, do the ostrich strategy, which is stick your head in the sand and until you're hungry or need to fuck, stay there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he does make a decent point, if only because you don't want to be flailing at this point when you truly have no power. But at the same time, when you're given that tiny window of power, like Schumer with pulling the plug on the government, I'm not saying that his decision was right or wrong, but that was the moment to, at the very least, message the shit out of it, dropping the ball. And what Carville needs to hear, and Donna Brazil, I don't know why Donna Brazil anyone is still listening to this person, because she's the head of the Democrat Party that basically helped tank the election. But if she has any influence or any new rising stars from a strategic point of view, they need to realize that it's all about personality. They should stop obsessing about policy, and they should actively start recruiting among the ranks based on these selection criteria.
Yep, the swimsuit competition.
I think so. It's like having the pre-primary of the primary in a way where the casting couch is open. And
Yep.
now we have social media. Here's the next step, Vince, from a tactical point of view for bonus brownie points. The old process of vetting was laborious and physical, expensive, and time consuming. So, hey, Democrat Party, why don't you start a new campaign? All right. You still have a few million in the coffers after Kamala and Waltz burned through $1 billion and lost the fucking election. Here's a recommendation for you to tap into the social medias. Remember that? To tap into the podcast infrastructure and ecosystem, which we know is making such a difference. Put out an APB, put out a recruiting campaign where we are seeking the next Democrat superstar and ask them to submit a 1 to 2 minute video, selfie video on why they are the one. And if they're able to get your attention out of the potentially tens of thousands, millions of submissions, then they de facto might be able to get the attention of the American people in 2027.
And
How's
we,
that for a tactical fucking recommendation? Instead
I
of
love
like,
it.
instead
I
of
love it.
all this vacillation and bullshit, instead of the fingers being, being pointed here and there, instead of one extreme strategy like Carville of doing nothing, or you got AOC and Bernie frothing at the mouth with basically an ideology and a platform and a series of policies that have, I think, proven to just be counter to the desires of the American people, which is, can you shut the fuck up already about these values and create a government that actually gets stuff done so that your base, your Democrat base in California, in Illinois, in New York, aren't moving to fucking Texas and Florida because it's become unaffordable because Democrats are shitty at actually governing.
Well, I love your I love your suggestion about the recruitment change of model, and I have the perfect name on which to end your summary, which is this is an audition. Okay, the reality show is an audition for Dancing with the Dems.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, create a fucking TV show where they're actively recruiting for talent, right? And you
Yeah,
know
that's what.
what? And the fact, I have to say, the fact that this conversation isn't being had on the Sunday morning talk shows from Democrats. And the fact that they aren't doing this yet is evocative of what's rotten at the core of that party, which is there's no creativity, there's no singular leadership, and there's really no idea how to slice and dice this disaster. And that's truly sad. They just need to own it and they need to do something about it. And I think the steps forward at the very least have to do with just finding new talent.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like you said, unfortunately, a rule of branding or a rule of thumb in branding is you really can't brand yourself. You need help. You need experts to come in and basically mold and shape you because you don't know what you're fucking doing right now and you might not be able to figure it out. So, if you're going to brand yourself and try that, you better get some good help.
Yeah, yeah. They say that if you're your own physician, lawyer, and accountant, then you're going to get sick, sued, and go broke.
Yes. Yes. All right, my
So
friend.
that was the best pitch possible for Mr. Vince Parry, the head of Parry Branding Group, who is a specialist in all things branding, including and especially creating, if not empowering and evolving your personal brand. We'll leave a link for you to contact Mr. Vince Parry for this kind of service done for you. And hey, Democrats, if you're listening, if you made it through, come on. And you can do better. At the very least, give Vince a call or ping me and we can continue the conversation. Thanks so much. Take care. And thanks for listening to Bald Ambition.